Hello, my name is Ritchie Hinton. I'm the CEO of Landscaping Victoria. I just wanted to take this opportunity to announce that we have reached an incredible milestone in the history of the Front Garden podcast, ticking over 75,000 downloads. That's an incredible achievement for what started off as a side experiment really during COVID. We're really proud to have hit that target, and we thank all our guests, our incredible hosts, Chris Weiss, Tyson Owen, and now Adam Hompas. Thanks to all our listeners, and look forward to another 100 plus episodes. And now, without further ado, let's get into the next episode.
Welcome to the Front Garden, brought to you by Coolabah Turf. Visit Victoria's premium instant turf supplier at coolturf.com.au.
And welcome to the Front Garden podcast, brought to you by Landscaping Victoria and proudly supported by Coolabah Turf. I'm your host, Adam Hompas. This is a show for anyone who lives and breathes landscaping. Whether you're on the tools, running the business, or just starting out, we're here to talk landscaping career journeys, industry trends, and everything in between. Thanks for joining me, and today we're here with Natalie Back. Natalie is a former student member of LV who has since upgraded to full membership after finishing her studies at Swinburne and starting her own business, Living Earth Design, based in Emerald in the Dandenong Ranges. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Excellent. I'd like to talk about the journey and what got you into landscape design.
Oh, well, it probably started when I was quite a young child. There's one story my parents love to tell where I was a very, very naughty kid. And at one of my best friends, Rochelle's house, we would always go down to the creek at the bottom of her cul-de-sac. That was banned by my parents, and yet I would continue doing it. The only way they could tell was I came home with mud on my shoes, and I lied straight to their face over and over. I haven't been to the creek, but seeking that outdoor adventure and running water has always been an absolute passion. And then when I turned 18, I moved out of home, and my first plant I bought was a blueberry bush, and that was it. It was all over. I was hooked on plants, and I continued to grow my garden personally from there.
Wow.
So I've had gardens in every home that I've had. There was one that was a unit in the backyard. You almost couldn't walk for how many pots and plants and raised garden beds I put in there. At the same time, I got excited about chickens. So I've had chickens since I was 18 as well. Moving to the Ranges for a while, I got a very large garden. And I started looking at gardens and the joy that they brought me and how I could also impact other people for the same joy, to bring them joy into their gardens and into their life. So I started studying at Swinburne in 2020. Yeah. So I had one class before COVID hit and it all went online. So I decided to skip it for 6 months and I started again in the middle of the year. And so classes were in and out of the classroom. It was a really great experience. I had fantastic teachers at Swinburne. It was such a shame that they closed the program.
Yeah, they closed, didn't they?
Yeah, so I graduated just before they closed it. A lot of my classmates had to rush through to try and push to finish, but I was one of the only ones that was perfectly on time to graduate. So I graduated at the end of 2023.
Wow. How did you find the content at Swinburne?
Fantastic. Yeah? One of my teachers, Ross Ubergang, he was a phenomenal teacher. He was by far my favourite. His passion and his knowledge was really helpful, and he just got me very excited. And so my core knowledge base to begin with was in vegetable gardens and fruit trees. So he would often have to tell me that I was not allowed to answer the questions about fruit trees and vegetable gardens in the class because everyone else needed to learn too, and I knew too much about it. So it was a really fantastic experience, and it introduced me to Vectorworks, which a lot of designers will use.
I've heard that name a lot.
Yeah. It's a big program. It's a tough program. So while I was in my final year, I spent between 6 and 12 months really learning it and learning it well. I used Vectorworks University, which is the online portal for learning, and really just dived very deep. So I do all of my landscape designs in 3D. I don't do any 2D, like 2D designs come as part of the package, but I don't design in 2D. I design solely in 3D.
So when you're designing, you'll actually be moving things in 3D. It won't be sort of the 2D flat. It's going to be so you can visualize it.
So every part
that helps you bring it to life.
It does.
Wow,
so
that's cool.
One of the things I find with my clients is they don't have the same experience and training we do. They find reading a 2D plan very difficult. They can't visualize it. And we do our sections and elevations, and that alleviates some of the problems, but when I present a design to a client, it includes a 3D video walkthrough. So they're walking through at their own height through their garden so that they can see what it's going to look like, when it grows in, because we always have to remind the clients the plants don't start out this big.
Yeah.
So they walk through their garden. It makes it much easier for them to make changes when they can actually visualise what's happening rather than getting to the end of the process and going, oh, I just wish we'd just done this. So I found that a really useful tool. But, yeah, gosh, it took me a good amount of time to learn the skills to be able to do that effectively.
So with the 3D walkthrough, does Vectorworks do that in the platform or do you outsource it?
No, I do it in the platform. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's there's a lot Vectorworks can do. There's still stuff I don't know that it can do, but I'm pretty proficient these days at getting it to produce the sort of images and designs that I want.
But that's really good because obviously, as you said, you've got the elevations and the measurements for the contractor. Because
Yeah.
if they look at a 3D and go, no.
So
But then the client will see the 3D and
they will
have
see
a
what
proper-
they need, in order to visualize what their backyard's going to look like. And it translates. It's still in a 2D as well within the program. And so I do, all construction documents, the planting plans, planting schedules, set out plans, specifications, all as a package that comes at the end after we've gone through the process with the client and they've gotten excited.
So speaking of the process, how does it start with you and the clients from the brief to completion?
They contact me and we organise a consultation. It's always an on-site consultation. So we sit down and have quite an in-depth conversation. Most people don't really know what they want. So we go through a process. We talk about loves and hates as far as plants and materials. Some people have real aversions to concrete or really hate corten steel, So you really need to find out the nitty-gritty of what makes them tick in a good way and a bad way. We look at different styles of gardens, ranging for, your traditional sort of Balinese, your 1990s Balinese style. Some people still get excited about it, all the way through to naturalistic. And a lot of it is guesswork by me, judging reactions and seeing what gets them excited and what brings them that sort of joy. So we talk about, what do they want to feel when they go into their garden? Because a lot of people can't articulate, the style that they want or even specific things about their garden, aside from, I'd like a fire pit or, I need an area for the kids to play. But so we look for what brings them joy, what sort of gardens and styles bring them joy, because at the end of the day, my entire job is to ensure that these clients are ecstatic with their design and they are pumped to see it implemented and want to be in their gardens.
Well, the good thing about it is you said you gauge off their responses. That's awesome because that's going to give you the clearest picture, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely does. So, a little bit of a flinch here and, all right, well, that style's off. Whereas you can see on their face, it completely changes when they see a garden. They go, oh, this is beautiful. I love this. But you can't just replicate a garden that they've seen, in a news, in a magazine or on the
Pinterest?
internet. Yeah, in Pinterest, exactly.
I want this.
Exactly. And you're like, okay, cool, but how big's your budget?
That's probably.
So, my job is to pull all of these things together and take all that away from the consultation and to start the process. So immediately then I start a site plan. So that's in 3D too. So their entire house is mocked up in 3D. And I start the design. That then goes to a sneak peek. So I give them a sneak peek a couple of weeks in. It's more of a style check, make sure that I'm interpreting correctly the sort of things that they love and get excited about. And then I go finish the design process that gets delivered to them in 3D with a 3D walkthrough, 3D stills from different angles, the 2D plan as well. Then we make changes. So clients find it a lot easier to make changes when they can see what they're looking at. I'd like the path a little wider, or actually we use this access, can we make a little change there? Or I forgot to mention, I actually really hate this plant. Very important step. So we make changes there. It goes back for review again. And once they're as excited as I am about their garden, then we go through to the construction documents and I whip them all up, whether they're implementing the garden themselves or farming it out to a landscaper or a contractor. They've got everything that they need to have this garden implemented in one hit, in 5 stages, in 10 years, whatever they need.
So you said that until you're ecstatic as well about the design. What if client completely loves it and you just don't think it's going to work? Obviously, what the client wants is what they're going to get, but is there a bit of a conversation as to why you don't think it should happen that way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I had a client recently who really wanted a grassed area directly underneath their large outdoor fire pit that they also wanted to burn off in. It was a really unusual request. And, you know, there are some things like that where I need to tell them, and it's my entire job to tell them that's a no. And there's a reason why it's a no. And we develop relationships where they trust my opinion, and I don't hand it out willy-nilly. I'm not telling them no because they really want agapanthus, even though I think it's the most horrible plant ever. But so when I do say no, it's for a reason, and they trust it's for a reason. I explain my reasoning about why a grassed area around a really hot area is not going to work, and then we talk about options. So, you know, while I have gardens that I really like, are my favourite gardens that I've designed, there's always elements within gardens that, you know, I might not personally put in my garden, but I make work because the client gets excited about that particular colour scheme or, you know, that particular material. I draw a hard line at volcanic rock, though.
The volcanic rock. Probably a bit of that floating around, isn't there?
Oh, my place is full of it. And, mate, it is getting ripped out one rock at a time.
And it keeps coming.
Oh, it doesn't stop.
It keeps coming out. It's kind of like Mary Poppins' bag, isn't it? Just
it absolutely is. Absolutely.
So after the process is done, it's all been approved, goes to the contractor. How involved are you with the contractor?
As involved as the client and the contractor want me to be. Okay. So I am absolutely available to my clients as a liaison for the next 10, 20 years, as long as they need. If they're, you know, I have a couple of landscapers I recommend. They're really fantastic. They do good work, and we have really good relationships. So they, you know, I get calls quite frequently. This plant's not available, or, you know, the budget has been decreased or increased, you know, and we make changes. And I talk to the clients as well. I mean, I get text messages from my clients, you know, showing me the work that's going on, and they're really excited about this part. And
beautiful. Yeah,
it's really. While my portion, in my emails that I finish up with, you know, while my portion is done, I'm still here and I'm still excited about your garden. I want to see the progress, you know, any issues, any problem sourcing plants or materials or finding the right people to do it.
Yeah.
Give me a call, send me a text message, send me an email, and let's work it out. Because my clients, they end up like friends.
Yeah. Well, that's great that they're sending you the pictures and things. That means they're excited. And they're like, well, check this out. But do you also do your site visits as well to make sure that it's getting built as per?
Yes and no, it depends.
New landscaper?
Yeah, it really depends on the client. So I have some clients, you know, have the funds and get landscapers in to do the garden, which is obviously fantastic. I trust the landscapers that they know what they're doing, especially when they're one of mine. Yeah, of course. And, you know, it's not my job to go and tell them they've laid their pavers wrong because I've got no idea. I do go and we take the landscapers take photos on site. I get them as well. So I keep in contact with a good feel. Yep. But a lot of my clients, you know, are not in a position to put it in, or they put it in such slow stages that it wouldn't be appropriate for me to be doing multiple site visits while they're just trying to get it done. Yeah. So I do less site visits than probably some other landscape designers, but stay connected in other ways should the need arise.
Well, then that's it. And you, as you said, like if you've got your landscapers that you know do the job well, you can get your updates every now and then. But it's obviously, as you'd probably assume, it's important, isn't it, if it's someone new, just to make sure everyone's on the same page and everything's getting done.
Absolutely. So I always ask my clients, please, no matter who you use, whether it's one of the people I've recommended or someone else, give them my details. I want to hear from them. If there's any issues, I want them to be calling me, because my clients don't know. They don't know, you know, we need to move from a 30 mil paver to a 40 mil because it's all that's available. You know, like they don't. They'd be like, okay, what am I going to do about that? Whereas, you know, for me, you know, therefore the levels change, or maybe the colour's slightly different and we need to reincorporate that slightly differently into other areas. And it's just, you know, something I need to keep on top of, but it's to a portion, it's out of my hands.
And going back to the consultation, the site visits, are they part of the quote?
Yes. Yeah. So my entire package starts at the consultation. Look, they don't have to go through with it at the end of the consultation if they don't want to, but in 2.5 years of business, I have yet to have one that isn't excited. So we started the consultation. It goes all the way through to the construction documents, including everything in 3D. So I know some designers like to charge extra for 3D and that sort of stuff, but it's just part of the package and how I work. So mine is all together. So they get everything they need. It's a flat rate. They know what they're up for.
That's great. So you're getting the complete package there, because a lot of people would outsource and have extra for the 3Ds and things.
Yeah.
So you incorporate it all in one.
Include it all. I find it fun. I like seeing it whip up in 3D too.
And hey, if it works for you, that's fantastic. As long as the landscaper doesn't just get a 3D image and say, build this.
Gosh, wouldn't that be terrible?
It'd be pretty funny on one side. Yeah.
I'm sure I'd get some phone calls about that.
You probably would say, this looks a bit different. There was something on your website saying that in part of the blog that maybe design is missing the mark.
Yes.
Can you explain a bit about that?
Absolutely. So there's a few points on that blog that I made. So biodiversity is one of them. So the problem we have is we have quite a lot of uniform gardens. They're higher maintenance. There's not as much variety in the actual planting palettes, which obviously affects, things like insects, birds, lizards, all your amphibians. So one of the things that we at Living Earth try to do is really ensure that there is a wide variety of plants in each design. So still meshing well, but ensuring that the environment is also looked after. So then we go on to the soil.
Yep.
So a lot of what landscape design, and even what I was taught at Swinburne was, about runoff, ensuring that you had the right levels to ensure the water runoff and into the stormwater and all that sort of stuff. So one of the things we try and do is claw back the water on your property. So rather than sending all of this beautiful rainwater, which is the best water that you can have for your garden, down into the stormwater, how can we work with your soil and your garden to ensure that it sinks in?
Use it.
Yeah, so we try and create a sponge effect in the soil. We, improve the biodiversity of the plants, which then bring in the biodiversity of the animals and insects, and we start to kickstart a proper life cycle for the landscape. So I give each of my clients receives a handbook at the end as well that gives them tips and instructions on how to best care for their soil, because as most landscapers know, if you don't have good soil, you're not going to have good plants. You can buy your best plant from the best nursery and you put it in crappy soil that hasn't been prepared properly, that's lifeless, then it's not going to thrive. So we really believe in creating the soil and maintaining the water that falls on the site rather than allowing it to wash off. So this goes into permeability of paving as well. We're not massive on large stretches of concrete. So I had a client in Listerfield South, they had a very awkward area down the side of a pool on about a metre lower level. So, in that instance, we could have, just put down some hard concrete or something like that and allowed the runoff to head into one of the stormwater points. But instead, we've put in permeable paving that has plants throughout it, and it just allows the water then to sink and sit on site, which gives the plants some...
Well, it's watering them, isn't it?
Yeah, it gives them resilience.
Yeah.
So obviously Australia has such wide varieties of quite extreme weather. We live in Melbourne. We can have, hail one day and scorching sun the next. So we need to be able to take care of our plants, and how we do that is by feeding the soil. And so then that blog goes on to water management as well. So we largely try and take water off site, which is what I mentioned before. We want water to escape and not be pooling and things like that, but we're doing it from an avenue of let's get it off as fast as possible and in the easiest way, rather than, our gardens and, our lawns, they really need this water. They need it to protect them from the shock of the change in weather. And I feel like the landscaping industry as a whole is dealing with that a little bit poorly at this stage. And then we go into vegetables and chickens, something that's been quite kitsch for a number of years now, but is slowly
close to your heart.
Oh, mate. It is slowly making a comeback. So, I mean, we've all done our grocery shopping recently, and I'm sure it's hurt almost every person that listens to this, the price of eggs, the price of fresh produce. So we believe that we need to be starting to take back some of this power from the supermarkets. It may just be that you're growing some herbs in a pot on your deck. But, those herbs cost $4 each at Woolworths, and you've grown them, and you can have them for the entire season. So homegrown produce and homegrown eggs, they taste different. They're higher in nutrients. They're picked when they're ripe, so they're more flavourful. I tell you what, my kids do not eat certain vegetables from the supermarket when they've had the homegrown, because they just don't taste.
Taste the difference.
We don't buy tomatoes for 9 months a year. We don't buy tomatoes for 12 months a year, but because the flavour of a tomato in the shops is non-existent.
Yeah.
And apricots, my partner Chris hates apricots because he's only ever had the pasty dry ones that come from the shops, not the ones that are fresh off the tree that are juicy and taste like an apricot.
If you're designing jobs out in the Dandenong Ranges area, that's, you got more of an avenue to push that there because they've got bigger
Absolutely.
space. Like, for example, if it was down somewhere in Sandringham or Toorak, how would you implement it if someone had said, I want that, the chickens and everything down in my Toorak home?
It's possible wherever you go. Each council has their own regulations around chickens. I don't think there's one in Melbourne that doesn't allow it if you have a yard.
Yeah.
And vegetable gardens can be incorporated into everything. I mean, we've all seen people with fantastic veggie gardens on their balconies in the city. So while I predominantly work in the east, anywhere from sort of Wonga Park, Warrandyte down to Pearcedale, they do have more space, but I've worked with, I've had courtyard gardens that I've been doing that, we can still incorporate some of these elements. It doesn't mean none of my clients are going to grow all their food and have all their protein needs met on their land. It's not possible. But everyone that I have met and every single client I've had has had some sort of excitement or interest in growing something edible. Now, it might be as simple as their lemon tree, and they're pumped to have an Australian lemon tree in the corner of their yard. Or, they want to have, fresh vegetables during the summer. Or, I'm just started one in Croydon North this week, and they've got a completely unused top of the garden, separated from their house slightly. It's in full sun, and mate, are they pumped to be able to grow some vegetables? They've dabbled in the past, but they had no idea what they were doing. They really want an area that's set up for it. So, I mean, it's a bit like you attract what you love.
Yeah.
And so my clients tend to love the same things I love. That's why we connect so well. It's why they choose me. It's because we have passions about nature and, living in the environment.
If someone in more your built-up suburbs would like, your edible veggie gardens, any particular products that you've come across that would really suit, for example, a small courtyard, like for vertical gardens or
the wicking
self-watering
beds.
troughs, things like that, the wicking beds?
Yeah, wicking beds are really fantastic in small spaces. They also do really well with a little bit of neglect. So having a self-watering system like a wicking bed really gives that plant the best chance it's going to have. It's going to produce with very little effort and very little knowledge. So as long as you get soil prep right, it also allows, these sort of raised beds, wicking beds and the type and the like allow you to grow upwards. And we all know vertical space is just so essential in small gardens, whether you're planting in the ground or in a pot, but being able to grow up just increases the space you've got astronomically.
So for anyone that isn't too sure about a wicking bed, how does it work?
So a wicking bed has down the bottom, it's usually a plastic container. Down the bottom it has scoria or a gravel base. It's then covered in a layer of geotextile fabric and filled up with water and then filled up with soil. The geotextile fabric is between the soil and the rock so it doesn't clog up the filter. There's usually an outlet where you fill up the base. You don't usually water from the top. So the aim is for those roots of those plants that you plant in the soil digs down into the water and that water gets wicked up through the bed. So that it waters itself and the plants only draw as much water as they need. So they're not sitting in soggy soil. They're not going on to periods of super dry and super wet. They have it when they need it.
So it encourages the roots to go further down.
Yeah, it encourages them to go down, to go further down, and it allows the plants to take what it needs when it needs it, not when you remember to turn the hose on.
Sludging it with a heap of water.
Exactly.
There you go.
You'll be fine. So and plants with deeper root systems are healthier. They thrive more. Yeah.
And you can see it because I have seen the wicking beds and you can see the produce that grows in it. It just
in such a small
spewing
space.
over the sides. It's awesome.
It absolutely is. So there's things that don't work in wicking beds. Root crops don't work. So carrots and your potatoes, those sorts of things don't work. There's not usually the depth of soil that's needed for those. But tomatoes work fantastic. Cucumbers, pumpkins, lettuces, all those sorts of things work really well in a wicking bed.
What's the minimum depth would you say a wicking bed would need to be?
It'll be about 30 to 45 centimetres.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've made them before. I've made them using old IBCs, cut them in half and fill them up.
What are IBCs, sorry?
Sorry. So an IBC is those big 1,000-litre plastic totes with the metal around them. So, so they're fantastic for IBCs for a quick fix. You can usually get them for $10, $20 on Facebook Marketplace.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you cut them
idea.
off. It's fab. You cut them off. You can be fancy and put timber around the outside to make them look pretty. I didn't bother because I'm much more interested in the product, in the produce for my own home garden. And so I did this in a rental. It was very easy. We grew fantastic amounts of produce. It was flavourful. It was everything you want a home garden to be, but it didn't impact the ground. That wasn't mine.
So could it be relocated if you need it?
Yeah, it was. It was difficult, mostly because the rocks down the bottom are wet and they're annoying to dig out. But we did take it all apart, and then when we moved to Emerald, we've reused it in various areas of our garden.
Oh, how cool. That's such a great idea. As you said, as soon as you said what it was, I was like, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. That's absolutely perfect.
No, they're good fun.
So early in 2025, you received a grant.
I did.
This is very interesting. I'd love to hear about this.
This is fantastic. I actually received it late 2024.
Okay.
So I entered a competition by Open Gardens Victoria for student and emerging designers. So I'd been in business for 18 months by then. So they allow anyone with up to 5 years experience to enter the competition. Yeah. It's a grant for $10,000 to implement a garden at MIFGS that is next door to their tent, their gazebo.
Yeah.
So their aim is, one, to promote, emerging and student designers, but two, it makes their gazebo much more interesting to look at. A lot more people come when there's a pretty garden next to it. So I won that, which was very exciting. I was in Woolworths when I got the email, and I did a little bit of a screech at the self-checkout, turned to my partner, Chris, and I'm like, I won. Oh my God, I won, which was both exciting because I have great faith in my abilities. I don't do anything in my life if I don't know I'm going to be the best or one of the best. It's a bit of a problem.
Well, when you have that passion for it, then you're going to get through. So that was this year?
Yeah, so it was this year. So if you ask Chris, my partner, he will tell you it was the worst 2 weeks of his life. But if you ask me, it was the absolute best.
Look, I'll put it this way. We've done 3 and that's it for now because I think I'd be going home alone.
Oh, yeah. Look, he took time off from work. Like, he took annual leave to come and help me. And he was a great helper and he was, invaluable. About halfway through, he's like, I should quit my job and become a landscaper. This is fantastic. But by the end, he'd had enough.
With the funds that obviously went into building the garden, and it was called the Sustainable Sanctuary.
It was, yes. So it was a beautiful garden. I
did say it.
Oh, did you?
It was beautiful,
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a good look. What was the experience like in designing it? Like, since you got the grant and then you're like, okay, cool, we've got X amount of money.
So the design came first. You have to enter, much like the boutique gardens for Landscaping Victoria, the design came first. So I designed the garden. I went, this is something special. Yeah. And with it, you also had to include a lot of documentation. So they wanted full budgets, referees from people you'd worked with or, that sort of thing. So it was quite an in-depth document that I ended up having to send, with no guarantee.
So that was to get the grant?
Yeah, that was to get the grant. So the design was done. So as soon as I received the grant, then it was full steam ahead. Yeah. So I organised some sponsors. I actually decided to grow all of the plants on myself.
Yeah, right.
So my backyard was just chockers of pots.
Sustainable plants.
It was ridiculous. So, I was potting them on. I was getting them bigger. I was, keeping them in their best nick because, I'm a plant person. Yeah. They get me excited. And then we arrive on site, right? Goodness, that was an experience.
How did you find it?
Really great. I learnt a lot about reversing my trailer. That was not a skill I possessed.
You would get your chops up for that for sure, how congested it gets, yeah?
Mate, it was tough. But the people that were working on all the other gardens, they're just really nice. That's one thing I really love about the landscaping industry is that everyone is kind, everyone is willing to lend a hand. The Shapescaper guys came over and did the border edging for me. Yep. And, I headed over to Ben Hutchinson's one at one point because he was on a time crunch. So I was over there shoveling mulch once I'd finished. But the overarching comment that I got about this garden was people saw it and they went, I feel calm. This garden makes me feel calm, which was the entire aim of my garden.
Credit to you because you won.
Yeah. So it was a really fantastic experience and one I'm certainly keen to go back and do again on either the boutique garden or the show gardens at some point. So we'll see.
Have you looked into the boutique gardens, the process of it?
Yes, I entered it on Tuesday.
Oh, congratulations
Thank you.
for entering. That's awesome.
So we'll see. But, very exciting, obviously another step. It's a slightly bigger garden. The one I did this year was 18 square metres and the boutiques are 25, but a different shape. So we'll see. The garden I've entered I'm pretty proud of. It's a different take on Australian gardens, so we'll see.
How did you find the location of where you did the one this year? Was it easy to sort of maneuver around and build?
It was because it wasn't with all the other show gardens, because it was a feature garden. It was slightly removed. There's a lot less traffic where I was.
Lucky you.
Yes.
Good.
It was just the apple orchard people next door. They had a lot of crates.
A lot of crates?
Yeah, the big apple bins, mate. There were 50 of them.
Oh my gosh. So if you got through to the boutique, have you got landscapers in mind that you'd want to use?
I do. Whether they qualify to be able to do it, I'm not sure yet.
Right, okay.
Yeah, because they require having
the DBL.
Yes, and whether they have it or are willing to get it, we'll see. So I predominantly work with a man called Sam from SWM Landscape Construction. He used to work for Laurie Landscapes. He's gone out on his own. He's an absolute gun. He's young. His body's fit. Like everything.
He's registered?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But he's fantastic, and he did the built-in deck for my MIFGS garden. So if he's not available, then I'll be looking to Landscaping Victoria to hook me up with someone they think is great.
And I think there'd be a lot out there that would love to be involved
Exactly.
in it.
It's such an experience, and it's something that I think every landscape designer and landscaper should try and get in.
Did you walk around and see any of the show gardens that were being built?
Every day. It was my calm down. Go and look what everyone else is doing.
Is that something you can see yourself doing, maybe, just like going bigger and bigger at the garden show?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. I told you I have to be the best. So, mate, I'm going to be there. It's the whole reason I don't have a boss. I don't need anyone telling me what to do. I'm going to do it on my own.
Coolabah Turf is an award-winning grower of premium, drought-tolerant, self-repairing instant turf for Victorian residential, council and commercial landscape customers. Create the perfect backyard with your next project. The kind where barefoot kids chase balls and dreams, where family pets run wild and free, and where summer barbecues with friends and neighbours turn into memories that last a lifetime. Get in touch with the friendly crew at Coolabah Turf today. Call 1800 055 515 or visit coolturf.com.au. LV members who mention this ad will get free delivery on their first order.
What about how would you take the feedback if it came back and you thought it was a bit... Was there anything on the feedback that you had that they said you could have done this a bit differently, or how did you find that process of the judging?
Mine wasn't judged. Feature garden, so it didn't get judged. Yeah. So I only had the feedback of Trent from MIFGS. He thought it was great, which is great. He'd asked me, he's like, "Are you coming back next year?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know."
Lovely guy.
He's
Lovely
beautiful
guy,
man. And so I only had the feedback of the public to go on. There are some people who it wasn't their cup of tea, but the predominant feeling was that this is fantastic and this makes me feel very happy and very calm.
Yeah, that's good. And that's the good thing about the show. Yeah. Is that what it does? Like it's... The amount of people that come through.
Oh, it's so many. I was so busy. I was exhausted every night, travelling all the way back to Emerald.
Any jobs that you've got coming up that you are pretty excited about?
Oh.
Anything that you've designed that you're like, oh, this is going to be a good one. Don't know how they'll build it, but it's going to be a good one.
No, I know how they'll build it. It's going to take them some time. So there is a job in Harkaway that has been really exciting. It was actually been one of my longest running design jobs. So they're on a couple of acres. There's a 4-metre drop at the back that's already rock retained, and there's a 3-metre drop at the front that's also in terrace. So it was really quite a tough build, but they get excited about some of the things that I do. So, we've put in an enormous vegetable garden. There's quite a large orchard going in. There's room for a tennis court if they feel excited about it. And I worked with Ben Hutchinson on this one as well, because we're putting it in a natural pond as well.
Awesome. He's a lovely guy and he's
isn't
awesome
it fantastic?
at that, isn't he?
Yeah. So there's been a couple of jobs where since MIFGS actually that my clients have wanted them. I'm like, all right, this is the bloke.
Yeah.
I'll put in the design from a concept perspective, but if you're going to build it, this is the one you need to do.
Did you have a walk through his garden this year?
I did. Mate, that
Quite
sauna.
cool.
Oh, It was beautiful. And the view from the sauna, I'm like, I wish the entire public could see this because this is stunning. He should have won. He was absolute rort.
And the machinery that they had through as well was
the
phenomenal.
size of the rocks, they were so big. I'm like, I've got a lot of growing in my business to do before I reach a point where I'm comfortable with that sort of machinery, bringing in such large rocks to my
There
designs.
is a lot of preparation for it.
Yeah,
there is a lot of prep to get that through. And I remember, because I think there's like a lot of engineering thing that has to go through for the show gardens as well.
Make sure it doesn't fall down the hill.
Because you got to do the plans, it'll get sent back and you have to readjust things and all that type of thing. So with the project you were talking about before where it's multi-tiered.
Yes.
I was just thinking, does that work well with what you're saying about the water? So you can help filter through.
It absolutely does. So, one of the things I try to do in that property is to slow the water down. They're at the bottom of a hill. There's massive storm water from the rest of the hill in Harkaway, and down the bottom is paddocks. So what I needed to do was ensure that the plantings are, one, that they have the information needed to prepare them properly, and the two, that they were planted densely enough that the water runoff wasn't going to be an issue. Let's sink it down. They've got water tanks, they've got solar panels, they're excited about this sort of sustainable lifestyle. And so my job was to ensure that their gardens maintained that as well, that they are not high maintenance gardens they don't need a lot of inputs in order to stay healthy. They're mostly native Australian, they're naturalistic, it's not a super posh garden. It's going to feel like a very comfortable, slightly wild garden, which is what I do.
Exactly. And that's what works well in those areas.
Oh, it does.
What about preparation-wise for areas like that? I'm assuming it's quite hard.
Access is hard. Access is tough. And yes, because of the excavation for the house build, there's a lot of rubble. So having to work with that and figure out the best way to ensure that soil is brought in and what sort of soil and where is the most important points to put it, and then plant choices. So plants that can thrive with, lower nutrient levels, so there was a very considered, very long process to ensure that we got the best outcome.
What type of soil would you need for an area like that?
Oh, look, native soil mixes are some of the best. So obviously native plants really struggle with potassium. We don't have a lot of potassium in our native soils. So anything that's too rich is going to probably burn the roots of most of these plants. So topsoils, compost is fine, but, no manures, no ones that have been enriched with manure and things like that. And
obviously you try to use a lot of the soil on site and condition it, improve it, do whatever you can do.
And my handbook that I give to my clients includes all of that, how to build a compost, how do we continue to improve our soil and bring the life back to it so that it can take care of itself.
So that's great. So you've got a handbook that you hand over. Is this a properly designed printed handbook that they've got?
It is a PDF.
That's fantastic.
So it's an on the computer handbook, but it's one that I created from, my 20 years experience in my own gardens about what works and how to build resilience and
life.
How to put
chickens in
gardens. How to put chickens in gardens. Everyone needs a chicken.
And how you'll never go back to Coles eggs after you've had Nat's eggs.
Absolutely won't.
But that's a good point of difference. I think what you might have, what other designers might not. Is that something that you think should be across the board with the designers? That they need to make sure, and contractors too.
Yeah, and contractors. And I mean, this is something that a lot of contractors probably, their specialty isn't in soil health and building resilience within the soil so that the plant thrives. They might be the absolute best paver, but they might have no idea how to plant a plant.
It's a common trend I've done my landscape construction background and it wasn't until the plants I had to learn myself. You didn't learn much in the trade school. It's all about the hardscape, but you've got to do your own research with it all. And it's so vital.
It's so vital. And if you want the client to be as ecstatic once you've left as they were when they received their design, you need to know these things. You need to know how to ensure that their garden thrives, because otherwise all they're left with is some hardscaping and everything else is dead. And mate, they're not going to be excited about that.
Well, that's where your drainage has to come into consideration, what you're planting it next to. But also the other thing is a lot of clients, I think, they don't understand maybe what has to go into the preparation for your plants. So is that something you really speak to them and say, you can't compromise on this section?
Absolutely. So the specifications I put in for my plans are very specific on the quantity of compost that needs to be mixed into each one, how the depth that we're mixing into, if there's any amendments I want added to this particular garden bed, and then the handbook goes on to the client so they can keep up the work, ensure that the mulch is at an appropriate level, how to feed the soil, what to do if there's, if they've got a problem.
Hand over the construction. Do you have a maintenance crew that you could recommend, or do you always insist on them getting maintenance to look after their investment?
Look, I recommend it, but it's not my money. So my job is done, and I've done the absolute best I can for them and given them the tools and the knowledge to ensure that the garden thrives. Whether they take that on board is tough.
The reason why I say it is because obviously when we build these gardens, you can insist till the cows come home, till the chickens lay their eggs, maintain, and and then you go back.
So one of my core values in my business is joy. So I feel like most people, if they are feeling joy within their gardens, if it gets them excited, they're going to want to be out there. So while we all have clients that tell us, I just want a low maintenance garden, I find that mostly they want a low maintenance garden because they don't want to be out there. It's not a space that brings them joy. It's not a space they're excited to be in. Whereas as soon as you create a garden and a space that flows and that really gives them that sense of calm, mate, they're out there all the time.
Well, I like that you said low maintenance, not no maintenance.
Yeah,
there's no such thing.
There is no such thing.
But you did mention something about your values. I did see on the website. So you describe your core values as freedom, expertise, creativity, and joy, resilience. How did you come up with these, and how do you reflect them into your work?
So I worked with a company called Marked Global. They a marketing company, but they do a program called PX. It's a little bit business coaching, a little bit personal coaching. So through their process, we figured out what my own personal values are and what's most important to me, and then what my business goals are and how they reflect my personality as well. Being a sole trader, it's me. My clients are getting me. So my personal values and my business values are quite closely aligned. My top value we discovered was freedom, which came as no surprise to my mum when I was a little bit of a rule breaker as a child. I'm like, so tell me what to do, mate.
You've said that a few times.
Yeah, it's a core part of me. Anyone that knows me will go, oh yeah, that's Nat. So freedom from a design perspective and from a gardening perspective is your garden should allow all the stresses of your workday and your life to go away. You should be escaping into your garden, rather than escaping in front of another screen. Go outside. I can guarantee you will receive better results sitting in your garden, listening to the breezes and the birds than you're going to do sitting inside. So freedom from the stresses and reconnecting with nature is a big one for me. 100 years ago, everyone was connected with nature. It was a no-brainer. And they also all had chickens.
They all had chickens, or the eggs.
And gardens.
Yeah.
But we've really stepped away from seeing the outdoors as a part of us. It's now a separate part. So one of the things I really try and focus on is reconnecting people with the joys of being outside. Creativity, because there is no excuse for a crappy garden. Nature is beautiful, and it doesn't take a lot of hard work to make the beautiful nature in your yard as well. So that it just evokes creativity. I mean, I get excited about it. I want to see this garden as the best that it possibly can be and achieve what the clients are wanting to achieve. I want them outside. I want them outside all the time. Expertise, because as I've said before, I have to be the best. So
I have to be the best.
I have to be the best. I'm not settling down here somewhere at the bottom. It's not happening. So my passion is gardening. I do continuous research and experiment in my own gardens to ensure that the information and plant choices that I'm offering to my clients are the best I've got. Then we move on to resilience. So some of this is sustainability. We've talked about the soil health, becoming a sponge, and resilience for the planet too. So my clients want the best thing for them and their families, and I want the best thing for them and the planet. So we're mixing that together to ensure we've got a perfect mix that's going to make them really excited to be outside, as well as still improving the soil and improving the planet. And then joy, because when you drive into your property or you step into your backyard with your coffee, it should bring you peace and joy. You shouldn't walk out there and go, oh, that's right, I've got to mow the lawns again. Or, oh my goodness, I really don't like that plant. It's getting really ugly. We want outdoor places to be a place of sanctuary.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Now, do you find it a challenge if you get a brief for a smaller house or smaller property? Do you find those quite challenging, trying to figure out how to instill these values into the job? They're
different. And they can be more complex. Sometimes the really tiny courtyards are much harder to design than an acre. But I find there's still elements of everything that the client values that can be brought into it. So while, you may only have a very small planting bed and, but the soil health of that planting bed is still important. And the bugs and insects that those plants bring in are still important to the overall ecosystem. They're part of a much larger network of gardens and parks that is really important for our pollinators and for our birds.
There you go. You've got to see. So you said you want to be the best.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
on your way.
Yeah, I'll get there. 10 years, I'll be the Ian Barker or the Nathan Burkett. You just wait.
You just be Natalie Back.
I will.
Do you ever find there are situations where perhaps those values get compromised by a client brief?
The short answer is no. The long answer would be that my job is to work with a client, really, it's almost on an emotional level with gardens, to ensure that their garden is going to bring out the best in the garden and in themselves.
Yeah.
So my creativity, my freedom, my expertise, my resilience, my joy, then I'd never find that they're compromised by a client. My clients want what's best for their garden. They're always excited about the environment. I mean, nobody builds a garden thinking, I just want to kill everything and pave the whole lot. Then I'm not there. They're not getting me there if that's what they want.
So speaking about that, do you have like a qualifying process with clients? So if you feel, look, this isn't gelling,
yes.
how do you approach that? Because it
It's
can
a
be
tough
delicate.
one. It's very delicate. So usually it's just a matter of, I don't feel that I'm going to be the best fit for you. It's got nothing to do with the client. If I'm not going to be the best fit for them, there are other people I can suggest, who may be a better fit for them, or they might not even need a designer at all. You know, if they've got a postage stamp backyard and they just want it all paved, they have no business paying me to create a model for them to pave it.
And you'll explain that. You'll
Absolutely.
say that's great. But that's honesty. That's your honesty in it.
It's the only way to run a business.
Yeah, well, you do have to. So even if it stings sometimes, you're still got to do it. No, that's good. Any advice you could give to younger designers coming through?
Oh, stick at it.
What? Yeah, stick at it. Learn
and
from
push.
the mistakes.
Yeah, learn from the mistakes because you're going to make them. And sometimes they'll be doozies and sometimes they'll be little ones. But the gardens I design these days are not the same gardens that I designed 2.5 years ago.
Make sure chickens are included.
You make sure chickens are included. Chickens are... They need to be everywhere, okay? We need to stop paying so much for our eggs.
Just need to double check the DB level in the local council. How
No roosters. Most councils don't allow roosters, but chickens themselves, they're allowed. If you can have a dog barking, you can have a chicken clucking.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's a good way to sell it.
It is. But yeah, so really just push. Look for the opportunities. So obviously I've had fantastic opportunities. I did some work experience and then worked for a commercial landscaping company as well early on while I was still studying. So I did some work for Yellowstone Landscaping. They do parks and playgrounds. I volunteered for 6 months, which was a really good decision. So it was a tough one, not getting paid for a day's work. But what I learned from them, and especially in the construction aspect and how things are put together, and the structures that are needed to ensure that a landscape design is put into place, and what I learned about councils and tenders, it was invaluable. So that gave me a really good head start. While he was known to the owner, Doug, he's known to my family. They're mutual friends and things like that. I approached him and offered a volunteer position because I knew I needed the experience more than I needed the money.
And how long were you doing that for?
6 months. And then they put me on a day a week.
That was the next question. So then they put you on the books.
I'm no longer on the books. I'm as needed because I'm quite busy myself.
Yeah.
So, but as needed, I did a job for them last month, the month before. They had a design and construct tender with the council for 13 playgrounds.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Playgrounds.
So I designed 4 or 5 of them. For them, in a week, I whipped them out, and I think they're with council at the moment. So we'll see.
Oh my gosh! How did you go about that? Because I reckon there's a fair bit of there's some strict criteria you got to stick to.
Is.
So
thankfully, most of the playground suppliers in Australia provide all the information you need, fall zones, where the rubber play matter sort of is supposed to go and things like that, and then. Doug obviously also looks over my work because, while I'm predominantly residential, the work I do for him is commercial.
Yeah.
So he looks them over, ensures that everything's within the rules.
Yep.
And then ships it off to council.
So before you design it, you'll get a brief of what you can and can't do.
Yeah,
like the
what the council wants. Design it to the
yeah.
specs. So the council provides briefs for these design and construct. So they tell you, with consultation with the community, what sorts of playground equipment and stuff they want in there, and things like that. There's very little gardens though, so I do it for Doug because he gave me a great step up and, and they're a really fantastic business. But my passion is plants. So I
Not
struggle.
playgrounds.
Not playgrounds.
You can picture a chicken running across the top
Absolutely.
of the playground
I'm
coming
like,
down.
when the schools put in the chicken runs and things like that, I get excited.
You'd be dealing with a lot of softball mulch at the playgrounds, I reckon.
A lot. It's all within the boundaries.
But that's still good to have something that if you need, you can help out with.
Oh, exactly. And so, they do a lot of construct only, but when these design and construct comes up, they know, they reach out to me and I come in. I think I'm in there next week for another one.
But that's good because networking is such a big key with what we do.
It so is. And they've been so supportive, especially through my MIFGS journey. Should I have fallen down and needed anything, they were ready there to pick up the slack and help me out. But thankfully, I got it done.
Oh, look, that's pretty exciting. It's actually really exciting to see. So we're going to have chickens.
Yep.
You're going to be the best.
Yep.
So
Short
on that
order.
though, one of the things I wanted to see is where can you see Living Earth going over the next 5 to 10 years? What's your vision? As you said, you're tying yourself to some high up there designers.
Yeah.
Is that where you want to sort of get to?
That's the aim. So I work hard every day for that. Most of my clients, I got quite a few from seeing my MIFGS garden, which is obviously fantastic.
Yeah.
But I really pushed my business during MIFGS as well. I had a competition going with a QR code to win a free landscape design.
Yeah.
So that gave me access to people that are very excited about gardens, that are
clever.
interested
Good
in
marketing.
landscape design. Yeah, so that was really fantastic. But predominantly my work comes from word of mouth. So my clients need to be excited and so excited that they want to recommend me to their friends. And I think I'm okay building slower as long as it's that genuine, comes from those genuine excitement.
Some exciting things to come from Living Earth.
You just wait.
Oh, God, here we go. Chickens and more chickens.
Exactly.
You hear a chicken, Nat's designed it.
She's been there.
Look, on that note, I reckon we'll leave it there. But thank you so much for coming in. It was really
thank you
great
for
to hear.
having me.
And good luck
Thank you.
with the garden and tree.
Oh,
and
we'll
you've
find
done well
out.
the last few years, so we'll see how we go.
Wonderful.
So
Thank
thanks
you.
for coming in, Nat.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's a wrap for this episode of The Front Garden, brought to you by Landscaping Victoria and backed by our sponsor, Coolabah Turf. Proud supporters of the landscaping industry. Don't forget to follow the podcast on your favourite platforms so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's chat, share it with your crew, your mates, on your socials. Let's keep growing this community together. I'm Adam Hompas. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time on the next episode of The Front Garden.